Hello, everyone. It's Oles here. Welcome back to another episode of the English Pro Podcast, the place where you can relax, listen to stories in simple English, and improve your language skills while enjoying something real and emotional. Today, I want to tell you a story about a boy named Evan. It's his last day of school before graduation, a day that should feel special, exciting, maybe even happy. But something unexpected happens. Something that changes the way he sees himself and his friends. It's a story about growing up, about mistakes, and about how sometimes a fight isn't really about anger. It's about fear, sadness, or the feeling of being left behind. So let's begin. The sun was bright that morning, and the air felt heavy, like summer was almost here. Evan woke up early, even though he didn't have to. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor, feeling strange. This was it, the last day of school. After today, no more classes, no more hallways, no more bells. He had dreamed about this day for years. But now that it was here, he didn't feel ready. He looked at his uniform, the same shirt and pants he'd worn for so long, and thought, this part of my life is ending. His mom knocked on the door softly. "Evan, you up?" "Yeah," he said, tying his shoes. She smiled when he came downstairs. "Last day, huh?" "Big moment." He nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, big moment." She looked at him closely, like she knew something was on his mind. But she didn't ask. On his way to school, Evan walked slowly. He passed the same bus stop, the same corner store, the same park. Everything looked normal, but it all felt different. Like the world was saying goodbye, quietly. When he reached the school gates, some students were already there. Everyone was laughing, taking pictures, writing messages in each other's yearbooks. Evan waved at a few people, but didn't stop. He wasn't really in a mood to talk. He saw his best friend, Ryan, standing by the lockers. They had known each other since they were little kids. Ryan was loud, funny, always confident, everything Evan wasn't. But that's why they worked as friends. Ryan saw him and grinned. "Dude, last day. Can you believe it?" Evan shrugged. "Feels weird." "Yeah, man. But come on, we're done. No more homework. No more Mr. Lewis." Evan laughed softly. "You'll miss it in a week." Ryan shook his head. "Not a chance." They walked together to their classroom. Everyone was talking loud, excited, throwing paper, laughing. The teacher tried to calm them, but even she was smiling. It wasn't a normal day. Everyone knew it. They had only one real lesson that morning, but no one was paying much attention. The teacher let them play games and talk about their plans after graduation. Some students are going to university, others to work. Some didn't know yet. When it was Evan's turn to talk, he said quietly, "I think I'll take a year off. Work a little. Figure things out." The teacher nodded kindly, but Ryan smirked. "You mean you'll play video games for a year?" The class laughed. Evan smiled awkwardly. "Yeah, maybe," but inside, the joke didn't feel funny. It hit something real, because part of him was lost. He didn't know what he wanted. At lunch, everyone sat outside. The air was warm, and music played from someone's phone. People were signing shirts with markers, taking selfies, making TikToks. Evan sat with Ryan and a few others. Ryan was talking loudly again, making jokes, pretending to throw food. He was being himself. Funny, but a little too much sometimes. One of the other boys, Leo, said something teasing about Ryan's girlfriend. Ryan laughed at first, but then it changed. "Watch it, man," Ryan said, his voice suddenly sharper. Leo grinned. "Relax, bro. It's just a joke." But Ryan's face turned serious. Don't talk about her. The group went quiet. Evan looked between them, trying to keep the peace. Hey, come on, it's the last day. Don't start something. But Leo laughed again, leaning back. Oh, you're so sensitive, Ryan. Ryan stood up. Say it again. Leo stood too. What? You gonna hit me? On graduation week. The others started whispering, phones out. Evan's stomach twisted. He hated this kind of thing. Ryan, let it go, he said softly. But Ryan didn't move. His jaw was tight. Then it happened. Leo said one more thing. Something about Ryan's family. Something low. And Ryan snapped. He shoved Leo hard in the chest. Leo pushed back. Suddenly, trays fell, food flew, people shouted. Someone yelled, "Fight!" Evan froze for half a second, then jumped in between them. "Stop! Stop it!" he shouted, trying to hold Ryan back. But Ryan's eyes were wild. Not angry, exactly, more like hurt. Teachers rushed over, pulling them apart. Everyone's phones were up, recording. Ryan's shirt was torn, his face red. Leo was yelling something, but Evan couldn't even hear. His heart was pounding so loud in his ears. After a few minutes, the crowd scattered. The teachers led Ryan and Leo inside, to the principal's office. Evan followed quietly, not sure what to do. He felt sick, like something heavy had just broken. Inside the office, the air was cold and still. Ryan sat in a chair, breathing hard. The principal looked disappointed but calm. "Do you want to tell me what happened?" she asked. Ryan didn't answer. Evan looked at him, hoping he'd say something, anything. But Ryan just stared at the floor. So Evan spoke. It was a mistake. He didn't mean to. The principal raised her hand gently. "Thank you, Evan. You can wait outside." So he did. He sat in the hallway, listening to muffled voices through the door. He felt small, like he was 12 years old again, not 18. The hallway was empty except for the sound of a clock ticking. Minutes passed. Ryan came out, eyes down. Evan stood up. "What did she say?" Ryan shrugged. "I'm suspended. For 1 day. 1 day. But it's the last day." Ryan laughed bitterly. "Yeah, guess I graduated early." They walked outside. Everyone looked at Ryan like he was some kind of story, the kid who fought on his last day. But Evan didn't look at them. He looked at his friend, who suddenly didn't seem like himself. They sat behind the school, near the old basketball court. The afternoon sun was hot, and the concrete smelled like summer. Ryan threw a small rock against the wall. "Can you believe it?" he said, his voice breaking slightly. "Last day, and I ruin it." Evan didn't know what to say. He wanted to tell him it was okay, that everyone makes mistakes. But the words stuck. Sometimes silence is the only thing that makes sense. Ryan said softly, "He talked about my dad. You know that's not cool." Evan nodded. "Yeah, I know." They both stared at the ground for a long time. The noise of the school carried from far away. Laughter, music, a bell ringing for the last time. But for them, the day felt over already. The moment had changed everything. Evan wanted to tell him something honest. But before he could, Ryan stood up and said, "I'm going home. Tell the others I said bye." Then he walked away. Evan sat there, alone, watching his friend disappear down the hill. The sound of footsteps faded, and the world went quiet again. He didn't know it yet, but that moment, that quiet after the noise, would stay in his memory for years. It wasn't the fight he remembered most. It was the silence that followed. The next morning, the sky was gray. Rain fell softly against the window, tapping like fingers. Evan sat on his bed, still thinking about what happened the day before. He hadn't slept much. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Ryan's face, angry, then empty. His phone buzzed. It was a message from a class group chat. Can you believe Ryan fought on the last day? He's crazy. Someone said Leo's posting the video online. Evan sighed and put the phone face down. He didn't want to read anymore. People love drama, even when it wasn't their story. He looked at the graduation outfit hanging by his closet, the dark blue gown, the cap with the little gold string. It should have felt like a proud moment. Instead, it felt heavy. Downstairs, his mom was making breakfast. Big day, she said, trying to sound cheerful. You excited? Evan nodded slowly. Yeah, kind of. She looked at him for a second. You okay? He hesitated. Yeah, just a lot happened yesterday. She smiled gently. Don't let it ruin today, sweetheart. You worked hard for this. He smiled back, though it felt weak. At the school, the gym was decorated with banners and balloons. Parents filled the seats, and students lined up in their gowns. Everyone was taking pictures, laughing, fixing their caps. Evan stood quietly in the back, looking for Ryan. He wasn't there. The principal started speaking about dreams, hard work, the future. The students clapped and cheered, but Evan barely heard it. He kept thinking Ryan should be here. When his name was called, he walked across the stage, shook hands, took his diploma. Flashes from cameras lit up his face, but he didn't smile. He just looked out into the crowd, hoping maybe Ryan had shown up after all. But he hadn't. After the ceremony, people hugged and threw their caps in the air. Evan joined them half-heartedly. He took a few pictures with classmates, but his mind was somewhere else. He walked away from the noise, down the quiet side street next to the school. That's when he saw him. Ryan was sitting on the low brick wall by the fence, in his regular clothes, a hood over his head. He was tossing a small rock up and down, the same way he did when he was nervous. Evan walked up slowly. Hey. Ryan looked up, half smiling. Hey, you didn't come. Didn't think they'd want me there. Evan shook his head. It's not like that. It was just one fight. Ryan laughed softly, without joy. Yeah, but it's the only thing people will remember. For a while, they just sat there. Cars passed. Birds sang. Someone far away shouted in celebration. The world was moving forward, but for them, time felt slow. Evan finally said, You know, you didn't really ruin it. You just ended it differently. Ryan turned to him. Differently, huh? Yeah. Everyone's pretending they're happy, but we're all scared. You just showed it. Ryan looked down, thinking, I don't know, man. It's like I've been in that school for years, and suddenly it's gone. Everyone's moving on, and I don't even know where I'm going. Evan nodded. Me neither. They sat in silence for a while. Then Ryan said, I saw the video online. People are already joking about it. Evan frowned. Don't look at it. It's not worth it. Ryan shrugged. Maybe not. But you know what's funny? I thought it would bother me more. He picked up another rock and threw into the field. I just don't want that to be the last thing people remember about me. Evan looked at him. Then don't let it be. Do something else. Start over. Ryan smiled for the first time, a real smile this time. Yeah, maybe I'll actually do that. They walked together for a bit, past the corner where they used to wait for the bus, past the shop where they'd buy snacks after class. Everything looked smaller now. Evan realized it wasn't just the school they were leaving behind. It was a version of themselves. When they reached the end of the street, they stopped. Guess this is it, Ryan said. For now, Evan answered. We'll still hang out, right? Ryan grinned. You mean when you're not busy taking a year off? Evan laughed. Yeah, something like that. They bumped fists, a quiet promise that friendship wouldn't end here. Then Ryan turned down one road, and Evan went the other way. That evening, the sky turned pink and gold. Evan sat on his roof, still in his gown, watching the light fade. He could hear kids playing somewhere and the soft hum of summer coming. He thought about everything, the fight, the silence, the graduation, Ryan. He realized something. Growing up wasn't about being perfect. It was about learning when to forgive others and yourself. He whispered softly to the wind, "Goodbye, old days." Then he smiled. Tomorrow would come, just like always. And maybe, for the first time, he was ready for it. Thank you for listening.